In 1902, the technical aspects of photographing motion had been worked out, and the basic principles remain the same to this day. But in 1902, film had not progressed aesthetically. Film had yet to develop a language of its own. There were some early attempts to use the medium of film to tell stories of one kind or another, but all of the notions of how to tell stories were borrowed from the stage. To become an art form in its own right, the motion picture would have to develop its own technique. In 1903, the first hint of that technique was very close.
The Great Train Robbery was released to Nickelodeons in 1903. It was directed by a man named Edwin S. Porter, and it was a sharp break from the methods of storytelling used at that time. It was a Western story in which outlaws bind and gag a station master. We then see the gunman take over the express train. The next thing they do is halt the train and hold up the passengers. So far, this film develops in much the same way as most story films of the period did. It follows the central characters, in this case the outlaws, step by step through the action of the film. If The Great Train Robbery had been an ordinary film, we would stay with the outlaws, step by step, all the way to the end. But here is what Porter did. All of a sudden, he cuts. He cuts away from the action of the holdup. He shows us another action line. The station master being freed and going for help. By cutting between the two, a relationship is established between them that heightens the impact of the story. In this case, suspense is built up as the audience anticipates the inevitable confrontation between the outlaws and the posse that's formed to track them down. The assumption up until this time was that an audience would only retain that which was right in front of them on the screen. The success of The Great Train Robbery, however, demonstrated that an audience was quite capable of grasping the concept of two or more lines of action happening at the same time. Thus, the filmmaker gained a powerful new device, something which was truly filmic in style and not borrowed from the theater. Surprisingly, Edwin Porter, the man who stumbled upon this notion of parallel action, never took advantage of the technique. He drifted back into the old linear style of filmmaking. However, he did play one more minor role in the development of American film as an art form. In 1908, Porter was in charge of this Edison film called Rescued from the Eagle's Nest. A young actor, desperate for money, came to the studio looking for work. Porter cast him in the film. It must have been difficult indeed for this young man to seek work in motion pictures. In those days, people from the legitimate theater looked upon movies with scorn. No self-respecting actor would have anything to do with them. But this young man had not done well on the stage, neither as an actor nor as a writer. He hoped to make ends meet by working in film, at least until his luck changed. His name was D.W. Griffith. The most important man in the history of American film had reluctantly arrived.